Hey everybody, it's Mr. H here at Mr. H's Place. This is my happy place, and I hope that this place, like mine, is your happy place too. So tonight what I want to do is show you a couple of techniques that will help you make a really cool dish that a lot of people see many times, but they don't think that they can do. They wonder, how could I ever do that? It must be too hard. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a stuffed pork tenderloin. And the way that we're going to stuff it is not just by splitting it open and then closing it back up. So we're going to create something that will be great for special dinners and parties and things along those lines. And I want you to be able to do this and enjoy yourself while you're doing it. It's very colorful, very flavorful, and I think that you'll enjoy it. So let's get started. Alright, so we're going to prepare the pork loin first and get it ready to be stuffed. You can't just take a pork loin and say you're stuffed. So we're going to prepare it to be stuffed, and as we go about that process, this is where the magic happens, and what a lot of people don't think that they can do simply because they don't know how. And it's really not that hard. It's pretty simple. You just have to take your time and be careful, and maybe see somebody do it for once. So here we go. So I have a pork tenderloin. It's a pretty nice one. It's got a little bit of fat on the side, but I'm not going to worry too much about that because we do want a little fat in what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 5-inch utility knife, and this happens to be the Pampered Chef 5-inch utility knife. And there's not a lot you can't do without it. There's not a lot you can't do with it. And we're going to leave that mistake in there because we're going to show that we're not perfect. But got a really nice sharp point. That's really what I'm looking for with this technique of cutting, is the point. I want it to be very sharp and honed well so that I can use it. I'm probably going to use the point more so than I'm going to use the blade, the rest of the blade in this process. So what I'm going to do is, you see down here, is I'm going to take the point of the knife and I'm going to bring it down here right on the edge of this pork loin. And I'm just going to score it, okay, all the way through. So you can see that I've scored it. I'm throwing it out there a little bit for you. Sky, do you like my towel? Do you think there's something in it for you? Yep, kind of missed up there. So, all right, so I've scored it right there. You see that? And then as I score it a little more, I'm just going to run the knife down through it one pass at a time. It's a very sharp blade, so it's not having any problem at all getting through this. And I want to go straight down almost to the cutting board. Not quite. I don't want to cut through this. I just want it to go through to the cutting board. And then when I get what I feel like is pretty close, and I am pretty close, except I got a pretty fat piece there, then I'm going to roll it out. Flatten that out, and I'm just going to follow the line that I've started. I want this to be as even and consistent as possible. I'm going to follow the line that I've started, and I'm going to cut back toward me as far as I can go without cutting through again. And I've actually left this part up here a little bit fat. Would like to have made it a little thinner. But as you can see, what's happening as I go through this is that this pork tenderloin, which is not all that big, is kind of rolling out for us. So when I get it there, I'm just going to keep going. One more flip, and this is the fatty part, so it's a little more difficult to deal with. I want one more flip of this at least. And here I've got it rolled out with a little bit of inconsistency up here at the top. That's no big deal. That's going to happen with just about any pork loin that you used. So now we've got it laid out there. We're going to get to the point now of preparing it to be stuffed. So we're back, and we've turned all the phones off so that we don't have to be distracted by that. And in the meantime, what I've done is I have placed this kind of butterflied tenderloin in the plastic so that we can tenderize it a little bit and get it thinned out to the point that we can actually roll this with enough stuff in it to make a difference. It won't just taste like a piece of pork loin. It's going to have a lot of extra additional flavors too. So we're going to pound this out. And this is why I wasn't worried about having one end that was quite a bit fatter than the other end or thicker, because we're going to do this process anyway. I'm looking for is a pretty good rectangle, which I think I have right now. So a couple extra just for good measure. And now you see that pork loin, the tenderloin, has turned into a nice flat piece of meat for us. So the first thing we're going to do when we get this done is we're going to put a little bit of olive oil on it. Okay, so I'm just going to spread that out with my gloved hand, as you see right there. And then at that point, we're going to add not Munster, I'm sorry. This is Havarti cheese. Havarti cheese. And if you've not experienced Havarti cheese, by golly, you need to. I don't think I pulled enough out, as I'm seeing here. So I may have to go to another commercial break here in a moment. But Havarti cheese is a great cheese, and one of the reasons for it is it's one of these cheeses that is nice and creamy and pretty mild as it is. But when you melt it, the entire flavor profile of this cheese changes. And if you thought it was mild before, wait till you eat melted Havarti cheese, because oh my sap, it is so good. And I'm presuming it's so good for you too. So anyway, all right. So we have there about 10 slices of cheese that we've placed on there. Where I'm going to go next is where I should have gone before I put the cheese on. Now that I think about it, and what I'm using here today is the Pampered Chef garlic and herb seasoning. Okay. Pampered Chef seasonings are phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to use them, I hope that you get one. So I'm going to put quite a bit of seasoning on here. I should have put it on the before the cheese because it would have stuck a little better with the olive oil. But as you can see, we're getting plenty on here anyway, and it's going to work out just fine. It's probably about a tablespoon right there. The next partner in here is going to be dried cranberries or craisins or whatever you want to call them. That might be a proprietary name, so I did not say that. But these are the raisin variety of cranberries. Often I will choose to go with a more savory version of this, and I'll use sun-dried tomatoes rather than the cranberries. And it is just as delicious, just kind of with a different flavor profile. And this just adds a little bit of sweetness to the pork, which tends to work well with a lot of people. When you see some of the jellies and things that go with pork dishes. So get those spread on there real well. We've got a nice coverage there of craisins, so doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to end up rolled up anyway. And then the last thing I'm going to add is a bed of fresh green spinach. And it doesn't have to be all that neat. It's going to end up flattened and rolled anyhow, but you want to get a nice even layer of it there, as even as you can. And I'm going to do that. And here's where the magic happens. This is where the fun is. So now I'm going to take the entire roll. I'm going to get it started right here. And then I'm just going to roll this up as tightly as I can. It's a little bit slippery in my hands. I'm going to roll it as tight as I can as I go. And see how fat that thing is compared to the way it was when we started. We started with a little skinny pork tenderloin, and now we end up with this, which is a gorgeous piece of meat that's just about to become a delicious dinner. Get out of there, Sky. Sky, everybody, I want you to meet Sky. This is Sky. Hey, look up. Look at Mr. Kyle. Hey, can you say hello, Mr. Kyle?
Hey, hi,
Yeah,
Scott.
this is Sky. And she's always interested in what's going on in Mr. H's place because she's Mr. H's puppy, and she loves getting the little extras. So, oh, look, there's a little extra right there. Sky, catch. Oh, you missed it. Okay. So I have pre-prepared 5 pieces of butcher's twine, and that's looks like kite string, but I guess it's got a little bit of different stuff in it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these pieces out across probably 4 of them, because I don't think I need 5. But you always, when you're preparing for a cooking video, you want to have a little extra just in case. So I'm going to lay them across the cutting board just like that, and you already figured out what's going on here. I'm going to lay them a little closer together actually. I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to lay it across there and actually put them a little too far apart. But now I'm going to tie them, and this definitely keeps the roll as a roll. I'm going to tie them pretty tight. Pretty tight down there. I want it to stay together as it cooks. I'll run this one in a little bit. And I made these at about the length of my cutting board, which is a custom cutting board by Stevens Woodwork. Stevens Woodwork in Rocheron, Texas. And I want to tell you what, this is the most incredible cutting board I've ever owned. And Steven down there, look him up on Facebook, made this to my specifications, size, color, everything, type of wood. And you can't get a better cutting board for the price, and it's homemade and you know what you're getting. So, alright, so I'm putting 4 of these on here. And this is awesome. I can't wait. It's starting to look so pretty. So now we have a nice tied up pork loin, and I'm going to remove my glove so that I can handle the spices. I'm going to salt and pepper this liberally. Got my wet hand and my dry hand on the outside. Remember, we have the garlic and herb seasoning on the inside. Salt and pepper on the outside. And this is going to be so good. You're not going to believe it. And now you've seen how easy it was. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this in a 400-degree oven for about 30 minutes. Now there's another option that you can do. If you like, you can brown this about 2 minutes per side, so you're looking at 6 or 8 minutes since this is a little bit fat to brown it in oil. I'm not going to do that today. I am going to put a little bit of oil on the outside as well, okay? And so we'll let that run down and allow that to help it possibly be a little more crisp. But when we come back, I will have placed this in the oven for about 30 minutes, and then of course I'll run the thermometer in it. I'm looking for about 145, 150 degrees. Once I've got it there, we're going to bring it out. We're going to untie the strings. We're going to slice this baby up, and you're not going to believe what you see. Hey, we're back, and this tenderloin has spent about 30 to 35 minutes in the oven, and we've let it sit for a couple of minutes to rest. And I'm going to take it off this pan where I put it on top of parchment paper and move it back to the cutting board, which has, by the way, been sanitized and cleaned. And the first thing I'm going to do with my pampered chef's knife is I'm going to cut these strings, get them out of the way. Just cut them on the top and then pull them out. 1. That's 2. We'll find the bottom of that one in a minute. There's 3, and there's both ends of that. And see if we can find number 4. I'll be right here. Well, we'll find it when we slice it, that's for sure. There's 4. And it comes right out. So we have this beautiful loin, and I'm going to cut it right down the middle. And I just want you to see the pretty color in there. You have the green, and in the better light, you can see a little bit of the red of the cranberries in there. It's still pretty hot, so I'm going to put that back down. And then I'm going to go ahead. This is rested for about 10 minutes, so I'm going to cut it into slices. So look at the beautiful pinwheel, and that's what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to get. I'm going to lay these on the plate just like that. These are going to the school tomorrow for the lunch bunch in the library at Shepherd Elementary School. And I hope they reheat as beautifully. There's one that gives you what you want. You see the bright green and yellow and red and smoke. Oh, that's hot. Okay, so I'm going to continue slicing this and plating it, and we'll be back in a moment to finish up with our stuffed pork roll. All right, sports fans, we have completed the stuffed pork tenderloin actually, and as you can see right here, it is a beautiful dish to serve. And I'm just going to say, between the time we finished the last segment and this one, there may or may not have been a tasting. And the only thing I can tell you is that I allow the videographer to have a taste, and I'd just like to ask Mr. Kyle Clark, did you enjoy it? Oh, that's so good to hear. Okay. So, Sky's down here on the floor behind me enjoying licking the plate after our tasting. But you can see how easy this really is. The hardest part is getting the pork tenderloin or pork loin cut out. And you can imagine if you're using one of those huge pork loins that you see. They're so inexpensive, but they can turn into quite a large dish, and you can feed a lot of people with them. So I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. We're going to enjoy this stuffed pork loin, and just in case you were wondering, I want to cook with you. Bye-bye.